can you actually get the processing done on chip, but it becomes a question of, can you actually get the chip to talk to the outside world? And it actually turns out that is maybe even the harder question at some point. And this is, of course, a theme that you see in many kind of quantum computing technology platforms, right? If you talk to the superconducting guys, then at some point they also say, well, one of our big problems is actually getting so and so many cables down into a fridge, right? So this is not something that is even unique to photonics. But what is great for us is that these people from QuiX are just located one building away, right? And then the university with which we collaborate, and who are also, right? So, for example, the photon source that we use to do the calibration of this 12-mode processor and this 20-mode processor, that photon source is located at the university, right? Which is another 5 minutes walk away. So I would say that actually this ecosystem approach has been absolutely crucial to the success of the company. And it's also been crucial to the fact that we have been able to move so fast, right? So we essentially function as an integrator within this ecosystem for all of these excellent pieces of technology that are out there. And we put them all together with it, adding our own expertise on quantum.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, for all you know, some problem you're trying to solve, someone might solve right down the block without even knowing you were worried about it.
Precisely.
Yeah,
precisely
that's
right.
pretty terrific.
And it's also a cost issue, right? So if you consider that, none of this machinery is cheap, and so it makes no sense. And we are as anyone in quantum is, we are what someone who comes from the semiconductor industry would consider a very, very low production volume operation, right? Like we make, let's say a couple of dozen chips a year, sort of that order of magnitude, right? And so it makes no sense to buy a multi-million euro machine to attach fibers to these chips and then use it 25 times a year, right? So it's great if there is someone down the hall who has that machine and who has it running all the time and who you can just, commercially get your, couple of dozen chips a year, get fibers attached to them, right? And so that's kind of why this ecosystem works so well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And you know how things like this go. Some synergies will create some wonderful surprise one day, and the next great revolution begins.
Precisely.
Yeah. Just like hotbeds of thinking, like going back to something like the Solvay conference of physics. You just never know. You get minds together and magic happens. Yeah. So Jelmer, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing how that roadmap progresses.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Now it's time for Coherence, the Quantum Executive Summary, where I take a moment to highlight some of the business impacts we discussed today, in case things got too nerdy at times. Let's recap. QuiX Quantum is a 3-year-old startup focused on photonic quantum computing, and they've already sold 6 processors to academics and companies. A fabless company, QuiX outsources the fabrication to a company that already laid groundwork in silicon nitride waveguide technology for similar machines in academia. These optical channels are known as Qmodes. QuiX has 20 Qmodes in its latest machine. Qmodes in linear optics are analogous to qubits. The linear optics approach is similar to that used in the Chinese machine Jiuzhang that caused some controversy with its claims of quantum advantage. Should quantum advantage only be declared if a usable problem is solved quicker by a quantum computer than a classical one? Dr. Renema feels that this is a moving of the goalposts, so to speak. No one claimed a useful problem was being solved, only that quantum advantage at a task was being demonstrated. Linear optics do not use gates, but can perform useful tasks. They map onto the structures of graphs well, so use cases could include finding hidden structures in graphs, solving problems in social network data, and research in folding proteins. Even machine learning and cryptographic use cases are possible. QuiX is hoping that the devices they provide will spur creativity. Their customers are domain experts, after all. QuiX believes that one day linear optics will be used in gate-based quantum computing too, and are working on a universal gate-based system with added components for release in 2026. Programming the current machines is enabled by a mature software stack loaded into a control box. The software interacts with all the subcomponents on the processor and performs the necessary calibrations to enable computation. There's no cloud stack layer yet for programming, but they're working on an interface like that for 2023. Before that, by the end of 2022, they're hoping to have a 50 Qmode system that may demonstrate quantum advantage. That does it for this episode. Thanks to Dr. Jelmer Renema for joining to discuss QuiX Quantum and their photonic quantum computer. And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to Protivity's The Post-Quantum World and maybe leave a review to help others find us. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ConstantHacker. That's Constant with a K, Hacker. You'll find links there to what we're doing in quantum computing services at Protivity. You can also DM me questions or suggestions for what you'd like to hear on the show, or maybe share your thoughts on quantum advantage. For more information on our quantum services, check out Protivity.com or follow Protivity Tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. Until next time, be kind and stay quantum curious.